Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another video. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series is less than 1 year away, and with all of the leaks and rumours that we've had over the last few months, I thought it would be a good idea to make a video on a subject that I haven't seen too much discussion about. One which deserves a lot more attention, and that is why Obi-Wan is going to be very different in his own series compared to when we last saw him in the prequels. Now there are some more obvious reasons for this as well as some more mysterious ones, which I will get to in a bit. But let's start with the apparent reasons. First of all, Obi-Wan will have changed a lot in the 10 years since Revenge of the Sith, mainly because he will have suffered a lot from PTSD during his exile on Tatooine. Of every main character in the Star Wars franchise, very few have suffered more tragedy and loss than Obi-Wan Kenobi. His master was defeated in the most brutal way before his very eyes. During the Clone Wars, the love of his life died in his arms. His apprentice, who he considered his closest friend and brother, betrayed him, turned to the dark side and helped Sidious hunt down and kill 99% of the Jedi. And now he's got to live the rest of his life in exile on one of the most scummy and barren planets in the galaxy. You really can't blame Obi-Wan for feeling down in the dumps about how his life has gone. What I'm trying to say is that at this point in the timeline that Obi-Wan Kenobi takes place, he would have had 10 years following Order 66 to suffer and dwell on where things went wrong. So undoubtedly from a mental standpoint, he would have changed a lot. For one thing, Obi-Wan's psyche will be much more tattered than it was before, and his skin will have wrinkled from the amount of post-traumatic stress mixed with the unforgiving Tatooine dry desert winds. In so many ways, he's going to be a very different man to the one we saw in Revenge of the Sith. But the reasons I just gave are pretty obvious, so what about the less obvious ones? The ones that you might call superficial changes, like physical appearance and demeanour now that he's been living for a decade amongst the locals of Tatooine. Back in May, Ewan McGregor dropped a bombshell during his appearance on Jimmy Kimmel when he mentioned that in the Kenobi series, he won't be wearing the same outfit that we're used to seeing him in the prequels, or even the robes that Alec Guinness wore in the original trilogy. Instead, Ewan McGregor teased a new outfit altogether. Now this puzzled a lot of fans, and many of us even speculated that he might be teasing Clone Wars flashbacks. Allow me to provide a different perspective. This theory is directly inspired by an awesome Reddit post sent to me by one of my patrons. The trauma and isolation that Obi-Wan must have felt in the wake of Order 66 cannot be understated nor underestimated. Obi-Wan did not just lose his best friend, he lost an entire community of Jedi who he trusted. The sheer loneliness of living as a desert-dwelling hermit would have driven him to near madness. In order to adapt, he would have sought out alliance and some sense of community. But finding community on Tatooine with his Jedi past would not be easy. Obi-Wan knew that it would be dangerous to associate with humans and other civilized species on Tatooine because that would expose him to the Empire. As for the Jawas, someone like Obi-Wan would be far too proud to even consider associating with them. But one group which makes a lot of sense canonically is the Tusken Raiders. Let's be real, they might not have been the most pleasant group to associate with, but in The Mandalorian Season 2, Lucasfilm painted them in a much more respectable way. They had a close-knit community and were capable of showing empathy, dignity and respect towards others. Now there is a very big hint in A New Hope that points to Obi-Wan associating with Tuskens during his time on Tatooine. In A New Hope, Obi-Wan seems to have extensive knowledge of the Tusken Raider culture. For one thing, he knows how to scare them away and can predict their behaviour. He even says the Sand People are easily startled, but they will soon be back in greater numbers. I mean, sure, this could be basic jungle and waste survival skills, but he seems way more in tune with their cultural sensitivities than other characters who interacted with the Tuskens have been. Another reason why Obi-Wan might have allied himself with the Tuskens is that he knew Anakin, now Darth Vader, had a repulsion for Sand People. Obi-Wan must have figured that Vader and his Inquisitors were much less likely to seek out surviving Jedi in the ranks of the Tusken Raiders on Tatooine, so associating with them would be safe. Another possible hint to be found in A New Hope is when Uncle Owen says, "That wizard's just a crazy old man." For years, people always assumed this was a reference to Obi-Wan being a Jedi, but Owen didn't seem to have any issues or prejudice against the Jedi in the prequels. What if it's actually Obi-Wan's outlandish behaviour and allying himself with the Sand People that leads Owen to think this way? And so with all of this, let's go back to the original point about Obi-Wan's new outfit. While he will keep his Jedi robes, which we know he still has by the time of A New Hope, between episodes 3 and 4, which is when the Kenobi series takes place, he might adopt clothing that is of a regular Tatooine citizen, or even Tusken clothing like Boba Fett had in The Mandalorian Season 2. So as you can see, between a big shift in mindset, decline in mental well-being, and adopting new survival skills, the Obi-Wan Kenobi that we're going to see in the upcoming series is going to be a very different man to the one that we've come to know in the prequels. He'll be much more reminiscent of Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan later in the timeline, but still unique and different to both of those portrayals. Obi-Wan's psyche at this point in the timeline is something that fans have always taken interest in, and hopefully Deborah Chow can do justice to that aspect of his character. Something else that's going to be different about Obi-Wan is that he's going to be wiser than ever. Not only has tragedy shaped his experience, but on Tatooine, he will communicate with the Force voice of Qui-Gon Jinn, who never fully learned how to transcend into a Force ghost, because he died in the Phantom Menace while he was still learning how to do it. But nonetheless, he's going to teach Obi-Wan these abilities, which Obi-Wan will implement during his own death in A New Hope later on in the timeline. But for the meantime, Obi-Wan's time reflecting and meditating with the Force, accompanied by Qui-Gon's guidance, is definitely going to give us an Obi-Wan that we haven't seen before. For better or worse, it will undoubtedly develop his character beyond the scope of what we've seen. I really can't wait for the series to drop, and hopefully we have a lot of our questions answered. This is the most anticipated Star Wars project probably since The Force Awakens, and it will involve so many of the legacy characters of the franchise. The continuation from Revenge of the Sith is not only a treat for prequels fans, but for fans of the entire franchise. As we know, there is going to be a lot of overlap, especially with the animated shows. We know that Sith Inquisitors are set to appear from Rebels, and we will be getting Clone Wars flashbacks of both Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen as well, but this time in live action. Flashbacks will make up a central part of the series and act as the connective tissue for exploring the psyches of both Vader and Obi-Wan. Neither of them have forgotten what happened, and that will be very interesting to see, because everything that went down after Order 66 still haunts Obi-Wan, and the entire Clone Wars haunts Darth Vader deep inside that suit. But what do you guys think? Let me know all of your thoughts of today's video in the comments down below. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and a huge welcome if you are. Before I go, my dear Megalorians, I want to plug in the fact that I have some new merch. Apart from the wide array of t-shirts that you can get, which include the Dark Side Meg shirt, the Darth Plagueis quote shirt, my Mando shirts, and much more, I now have an exclusive Mega Mug, which comes in a variety of 15 colours. Use the code GIVEMEMUG for 15% off the mugs, as well as the entire merch store. The link is down there in the description down below. But otherwise, my dear friends, I'm Star Wars Meg, wishing you all a phenomenal rest of the day, no matter where you dwell in the galaxy. Have a good one.